at all.
Yeah.
Terje Vigen.
Terje Vigen.
Just double checking on the pronunciation.
Yeah.
Terje Vigen, which is a Swedish film about a Norwegian fellow
It's
named after.
based on a Norwegian poem
Yes.
by Heinrich
So
Ibsen of Peer Gynt fame.
So another wartime situation. It was about 100 years and change before the movie was made. There was a British blockade around Norway, and it told the story of Terje Vigen, who is a man who tried to kind of sneak his way through the blockade so that he could get money from, or get supplies from Sweden to bring to his starving family. And his whole town was starving. And so it was kind of this heroic thing, but there are some complications.
Indeed.
This is directed by Victor Sjöström. Let me double check that.
Sjöström. I'm just gonna anglicize it because.
Oh yeah.
Victor Sjöström.
Sjöström. Dude, cat, can you not? This is directed by Victor Sjöström, which is a Swedish man who is most famous to most people probably for playing the old man in Wild Strawberries.
Which I did not realize until after I saw the movie, and I was like, "Oh damn, I've seen that movie."
Yeah.
It's like the only.
It's a good movie.
It's like the only Bergman movie that I have seen. But he's much younger here, and he is directing and starring in this film. It was, as far as I can tell, I tried to cite this as best I could. It was the most expensive Swedish film at the time, up till that point. It is often cited as like a groundbreaking early Swedish film, along with another Sjöström film, Ingeborg Holm, which he also directed and starred in. It takes place during the Napoleonic Wars, or as I call it, Nutcracker times.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
It means everyone in this movie looks like a nutcracker. Off topic, we can cut this out. I was watching Amistad. I'd never seen Amistad, so I finally watched it. And that takes place in later than this. I think that's like the I don't remember. It's like the 1850s or 60s. So I guess around the same time. And there's all these like very dramatic scenes of people being like put in chains and like thrown in jail, but all like the soldiers and like people, they're sort of like authority figures, look like nutcrackers. They've got these like fancy like colorful uniforms on, and it's just weird to see such like dramatic scenes of like oppression happening when it's like, but they look like nutcrackers.
I feel like all sorts of old-timey military regalia looks like that.
It's true, but like there's a specific like period of time where it is just it's weird. Anyway, these are the things these are the thoughts that happen in my brain.
So yeah, when Terje goes out and tries to get those supplies, he gets captured by the British.
We start the movie sort of en media res a bit.
Yes,
where we open on Terje as a old salty sea hermit, and then we're kind of introduced to like, this is the old man Terje Vigen. He's old and salty. He lived a life, and then it's like we flash back to when he was young.
Yeah, cool, like non-linear storytelling. Definitely.
Yeah, and it kind of gives the story a bit of its sort of like mythic vibe a bit, I think.
Yeah, including the fact that it like the D.W. Griffith movie The Unchanging Sea, this is also based on a poem and shows parts of the poem or the entire poem in the title cards.
Right. Yeah.
So it does have that kind of epic mythic quality, for sure. And yeah, like you're saying, I think that starting with this hermit and then learning his story, and then we kind of move back toward reaching the point at the beginning of the movie is a cool way of introducing everything.
But so yeah, so then we were introduced to his life on the Norwegian island that he lives on, his wife, his daughter, the sort of situation where there's a British blockade and they have little to no food, and his decision to kind of go out on a boat and sneak past the German ships to find some food from the neighboring islands, which he does in sort of, he like hides amongst like the tree branches and covers up his boat.
Yeah, there's a really good shot while he's hiding from the British, where he's successfully like covered himself and his boat in branches, and you see it's this like classic shot that you see in so many things where the camera sees the kind of search party passing by, and then it just hangs on the scene after they pass a little too long.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and then it turns out he pops up from the branches. I thought that was a really good reveal.
Maybe the first time that's ever been done. I don't know.
Maybe 90% of silent films are lost. How can we know?
But so then he makes it to the island, he gets his food, but then on the way back, he gets caught by a British patrol. And they sink his boat, and they're very mean about it. They mock him openly. There's sort of one British officer in particular who's particularly kind of nasty to him. And they throw him in prison for many years. Some say as many as 5. Is what the title card says.
And with that captain, by the way, I thought that it was another case of really good acting where, you know, the captain's back is to the camera, and you see Terje pleading to the captain, and there's a point where it kind of shifts from him like thinking that he might have a chance, to realizing that they're just mocking him and they're going to throw him into prison anyway. And you see his face like turn from misery to hatred, you know? And you're just reflecting off of the back of you can imagine what is going on the face of the British captain, even though his face is facing away from you, based on like what is happening with Terje.
Acting is reacting.
There you go. And yeah, well done. It reminded me of my favorite scene from Birdman, which is where a similar thing happens.
Oh, interesting.
You see Emma Stone like berating Michael Keaton for like a little bit too long, and then you can't, because it's a single shot movie, the camera's only on her face, and then you see like her kind of realize that she's overstepped, and then you're kind of imagining what's happening in the space where you can't see. And so it's a similar thing happening in this movie, which I liked.
Yeah. So then he's in prison for as many as 5 years until the war is over and he is eventually freed. But he returns home, and no one recognizes him because he is aged. He has a big beard, his gray hair. So he returns home to his house to find another family living there.
Rip Van Winkle style.
Yeah, and they tell him that his family has died, presumably from starvation, while he was gone. And he goes and finds their graves, and decides to just go off and live on his own as a salty sea hermit. And then we're sort of...
He shakes his hands in anger at the sea, and the townsfolk think he...
I mean, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Just shaking our fist at the sea.
The townsfolk all think that he went crazy, and they all stay away from him, and he becomes a hermit.
And so then we're caught up to where the movie begins, and that's sort of where I thought the movie was going to end. But it keeps going. That's really only the first... It's more than the first half, but there's a whole kind of another act coming. And so while he is out on doing his sea hermit things, he sees a British sporting yacht that's caught in some rough seas, off the coast of his island, and he goes out to help them, only to realize that the man on the yacht with his family is none other than the officer who mocked and imprisoned him so many years ago.
Yes, and he goes from saving them to trying to tank the boat because he's trying to exact his revenge.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So he's trying to like run the ship aground and sink their boat in like the same way that they sank his boat. But then he sees the daughter of the officer, who is like a toddler.
And his mother, her mother, says, "Anna, my baby," and he stares at the daughter because his baby's name was Anna. It's a real Martha moment,
Right.
Of
Very true.
So he has a change of heart.
I think
because
Zack Snyder's a big fan of Terje Vigen.
He has a change of heart, like, because he realizes that he realizes that he can't kill a kid, basically.
And so then he brings them back to shore. He saves them, but then once they're back on shore, he confronts the guy. And they sort of have the guy is remorseful.
Yeah, he says he says the time for revenge is now, but as when he's about to take them, it says he has a moment of clarity, and then he says, "Those years in prison poisoned my mind, but now we're even." So he kind of just like snaps out of his vengeance rage, right as he's about to make the final blow.
And so the British officer and his wife, we kind of cut ahead, and they're leaving the island, and they thank him for saving their lives, and he's like, "Thank your daughter, not me. Like, without her, I'd have killed you." And then, as per custom of a Swedish film, we end on a big old title card that says "slut," which is always jarring.
Yes.
To our English speaking eyes.
Our English-speaking eyes.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, I liked this one. I thought it was.
It's quite good.
I liked the vibe of it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it had, like you were saying, that kind of like epic, poetic kind of quality with these big, kind of moral choices.
It's very like well shot, well staged. There's a lot of shooting stuff on the actual ocean, I'm assuming, which, as we all know from Jaws, is very hard to do. I do kind of think it's interesting that Sjöström is he's very well known for directing early Swedish films, but then also starring in an Ingmar Bergman movie, and I think it's kind of interesting to try to compare this movie to Bergman movies a little bit and to kind of see a little bit of the parallels there. I might be reading into it too much, but I do kind of get. I feel some parallels there, just in the sense of kind of the use of like landscape and kind of the sort of like elemental elements to it, of like the sea, and like that's stuff that I kind of associate with Bergman, not like entirely, but.
Well, you know what's also funny is that Sjöström, there is another kind of parallel with Wild Strawberries, because he originally was not interested in making this movie, and then he went on like a sentimental trip back to his hometown, and he like went on a journey by bicycle, riding around in Norway, and Sweden, and the trip,
and eating strawberries.
Maybe, yeah. And so it does seem like it's got this kind of weird like similarity with Wild Strawberries. Also, I'm convinced that because Criterion are such like Bergman simps, that like the reason why this movie is on the Criterion Channel is because of Wild Strawberries.
Maybe. It is not on Criterion Channel in very good quality, I will say. Get on that Criterion Channel. There are better digital copies of this movie out there, and you step up your game.
Yeah.